I will be the greatest, regardless what weight I am. I can guarantee you that. And people will see me as the greatest.
Would you tell Muhammad Ali that?
Well, he's my idol, and I do love him to bits, but I will tell him.
Reigning undefeated WBO featherweight champion of the world, presenting Prince Naseem Hamed.
In the luminous era of the 90s, he emerged as one of the most electrifying talents in the boxing world. Yet his journey came to a halt, overshadowed by a singular defeat he could never surmount. In this episode, we dive deep into the iconic clash that signaled the end of Prince Naseem Hamed's illustrious career. Join us as we dissect the monumental battle against Marco Antonio Barrera, a bout heralded as one of the pinnacle moments of boxing in 2001. And if you enjoy this journey into boxing history, please leave us a like.
Now, he said he was too strong. Everything his trainers and his manager says. What happened? I was too strong, too fast, and too good, and I'm world champ.
Stepping onto the British stage in 1992, the featherweight sensation Naseem Hamed was initially dismissed by many as a brash and flashy upstart. However, it wasn't long before he compelled the boxing world to take a second look. Fast forward to 2001, and Prince Naseem had ascended to the zenith of the featherweight division, amassing an enviable collection of titles including the WBC, IBF, WBO, and the increasingly prestigious Ring Magazine belt. Yet, this period of professional triumph was tinged with personal upheaval. Hamed parted ways with Brendan Ingle, the mentor who had been instrumental in his rise. In a bid to continue his legacy, Hamed joined forces with the renowned Emanuel Steward.
So why are you here, Manny?
I'm here training the greatest featherweight of all time, Prince Naseem Hamed, for his great fight that's coming up on April the 7th, when he's going to score an electrifying knockout over Antonio Barrera.
Despite Steward's illustrious track record, the partnership struggled to find its rhythm. Hamed, ever the maverick, had grown accustomed to marching to the beat of his own drum, particularly under Ingle's tutelage. As his wealth burgeoned to the tune of $40 million, the notion of bending to another's will became a struggle for the arrogant prince.
What if it all goes wrong? What if you lose this one?
I don't know how you can even ask me that, Adam. And I shouldn't really even answer that silly question. To me, that is a silly question. There's no way that I can lose. So I'm not going to answer it as if... I'm not going to answer it the way you said it to me. What if you do lose? That'll never happen. So that's all I'm saying. That can't happen. It won't happen.
Nas had ascended to a juncture in his career where only the marquee matchups could further cement his legacy. His flawless record was nothing short of extraordinary. 35 victories with 31 coming by the way of knockout, without a single blemish of defeat. He had vanquished all challengers, yet the allure of a blockbuster bout against a global boxing icon beckoned. Upon evaluating the landscape, Emanuel Steward promptly dismissed the idea of a showdown with Juan Manuel Marquez, citing the Mexican fighter's style as particularly troublesome for Naseem. Instead, Steward's eyes lit up at the prospect of a duel against another formidable Mexican warrior, Marco Antonio Barrera. Barrera, demonstrating his hunger for this monumental clash, was willing to vacate his WBO super bantamweight crown and ascend to a new weight class, setting the stage for a battle that promised to test the limits of Hamed's brilliance.
I want Barrera next. I'm gonna knock him out, and I'm gonna make history and bring it back to Sheffield, bring it back to England. Whoop, there it is.
The road to the bout with Barrera was a lengthy one, with negotiations stretching out over the better part of a year. Amidst this period of anticipation, Naseem Hamed faced off against the up-and-coming Augie Sanchez in a bout that showcased the dazzling prowess for which the prince had become renowned. Yet, beneath the surface of these spectacular victories, a shift was occurring in the prince's approach to the sport. The era of Hamed's grueling sessions under the watchful eye of Brendan Ingle had faded into the past. Training had slipped from its pedestal as the centerpiece of his daily regimen, signaling a departure from the discipline that had once been his hallmark. The stage was set for April 7, 2001, as Hamed and Barrera squared off in a clash that was as much about legacy as it was about the purses at stake. Hamed was poised to pocket an eye-watering $8.5 million, while Barrera was set to earn a career-high $1.8 million, a tidy sum that underscored the magnitude of the bout. Despite the financial disparities, the betting odds painted Hamed as a clear favorite, with the Prince commanding a 3-to-1 advantage over Barrera. The general consensus, especially among the American boxing experts, strongly leaned towards Hamed's victory. Out of 30 surveyed boxing authorities, a whopping 28 predicted that the flamboyant Prince would secure a win. This overwhelming support for Hamed set the stage for high expectations, with fans and insiders alike eagerly awaiting what was anticipated to be yet another masterful performance from the Prince in the ring.
Your first fight here in Vegas, you love to have opening acts. Any hint as to what's going to take place before you actually step into the ring?
There's going to be a wicked entrance. I just don't want to spoil the surprise. It's something just really, really good and very, very exciting. You know, I bring drama, excitement, and knockout explosive power.
When the arena lights dimmed, the crowd's cheering grew louder and more exciting. Prince Naseem Hamed stepped into the spotlight, not just to fight, but to entertain. His entrance was a big show, full of grand gestures. Everyone was watching, caught up in the excitement and drama that only Nas could bring.
Bring in the clown, bring in the fighter. Same guy. Larry, we don't want to be too old. Just a few things going on.
Aside from getting a little beer thrown on him, it was a terrific show, huh?
I love it. I love guys that are willing to put themselves out on the line.
The bell rang, and from the outset, it was clear that Hamed was there to dominate, his punches slicing through the space where Barrera's head had been moments before. Despite Hamed's aggressive start, his flamboyance met with the stern, grounded poise of Marco Antonio Barrera. Unlike Hamed, Barrera was not there for the theatrics. He was there to dismantle a myth. As the round progressed, Barrera's strategy became evident. Absorb the early barrage, maintain composure, and began to dissect Hamed's defenses. Midway through the round, Barrera unleashed a stinging left hand that momentarily stunned the Prince. Sensing vulnerability, Barrera tightened his focus and escalated his assault.
Not just waiting in, gets to the body, wobbles down with a left hook upstairs.
Barrera was sharp and relentless, each punch hitting harder than the last. Hamed, overwhelmed and outmatched, was rocked by the force of Barrera's precise strikes. As the round neared its end, Barrera delivered a crushing combination, a flurry of punches that sent Hamed reeling. His legs wobbled beneath him, not in his usual flashy style, but in a desperate struggle to stay upright. The crowd, electrified by Hamed's grand entrance, now murmured in disbelief. Was the Prince biting off more than he could chew? This first round had been a harsh and embarrassing reality check for the Prince.
Barrera fighting an intelligent, measured fighter against an awkward fighter. Briefly dazed him early in the round, later came on to land those hard jabs.
As round 2 began, the narrative of the fight remained unchanged. The Prince continued with his awkward, unconventional punches, but each attempt met the air, never quite finding its mark. Barrera dodged and weaved, making Hamed miss time and again. With every miss, Barrera made him pay with his counterattacks. Midway through the round, frustration boiled over for Hamed. In a moment of desperation, he grappled Barrera into a headlock, dragging him to the canvas. This unorthodox move underscored Hamed's growing irritation and inability to control the fight's pace or his opponent.
Shades of the Cesar Soto bout in Detroit, as Barrera is either pulled down by Hamed or pushes him down. Mark Ratner comes up onto the ring apron.
The crowd watched in shock as the spectacle turned scrappy. If legendary referee Joe Cortez couldn't assert his control, the fight threatened to spiral into chaos.
What happened there was Hamed lunged at him into the clinch and tried to throw him off balance, and Barrera responded.
I don't want any real tactics.
Have you ever seen a police officer put his hand on a fighter during a fight, George? I don't think I've seen that before.
In the third round, the tone of the fight continued as established in the previous rounds. Hamed, coming off a slightly better end to the second round, attempted to increase his activity. However, Barrera's precise counterpunching and control of the ring space were evident. Despite Hamed's attempts to be more active and turn the tide, Barrera maintained dominance by landing the more damaging shots, controlling the round with his strategic movement and sharp counterattacks. As the fourth round began, right out of the gate, Barrera landed a substantial left hand, putting Hamed on shaky legs early in the round. Throughout the round, Barrera continued to dominate with a combination of sharp counters and controlled aggression, maintaining the upper hand as he had in the earlier rounds.
Big left hand by Barrera inside. Stuns Prince Naseem. Naz smiling, but there's no question he was hurt by that left.
Round after round, both fighters poured their hearts into the fight, each trying to penetrate the other's defenses. Rounds 5 through 7 were marked by intense exchanges, with Hamed attempting to find his rhythm, but often being outmaneuvered by Barrera's precise and disciplined approach. Despite moments of competitiveness from Hamed, Barrera's consistent control and effective counterpunching defined these middle rounds, showcasing a blend of resilience and strategic execution from both fighters. As the 8th round unfolded, Barrera delivered a telling blow, a sharp hand at the 112 mark that sent Prince Naseem Hamed stumbling toward the ropes. This moment was more than just a point scored. It was a dramatic statement in the bout. Barrera, the underdog whose skills some analysts might have underestimated, was not just competing, but excelling, turning expectations on their head. The boxing world was captivated and somewhat shocked as they watched Barrera capitalize on every opportunity, demonstrating that he was not just there to participate, but to dominate and win. The one-punch shots by Hamed were not enough, and the Prince simply just didn't have an answer. In round 9, a significant moment occurred when Barrera landed another thunderous left hook, sending Hamed off balance.
Big left hook by Barrera.
By this point in the match, the scene was set for a dramatic climax. The once confident and flamboyant Prince Naseem found himself on the brink of losing his title, his aura of invincibility fading with each round. In contrast, Barrera, the underdog, was on the verge of changing his life with a career-defining victory. In round 10, Hamed came out more aggressive, knowing what was at stake, but Barrera began countering with hellacious combos. This was boxing. This was war.
Can you believe the odds on this fight were 3.5 to 1? Can you believe 28 out of 30 writers picked Hamed? Where is the respect for Marco Antonio Barrera?
But it's there right now.
By round 11, Barrera continued to dominate with precise technique and powerful counters. Despite his efforts, Hamed struggled to gain an upper hand. The drama peaked in the final round. In a moment of intense struggle, Barrera was deducted a point for slamming Hamed's head into a turnbuckle during a tussle in the corner. However, this penalty did little to sway the outcome as Barrera maintained control throughout the round. The scene was a striking metaphor for the fight's narrative. Hamed, once the dazzling prince of boxing, appeared outmatched and demoralized as the final bell rang. Marco Antonio Barrera's victory was not just a win in the ring, but a resounding statement to the boxing world. Against all odds, and contrary to the predictions of many analysts, Barrera proved his doubters wrong. His disciplined approach and tactical brilliance showcased a boxer at the peak of his abilities, rewriting the script of what many expected to be Hamed's showcase. This fight marked a significant derailment in Hamed's rise to stardom, highlighting that in boxing, the path to greatness is never guaranteed.
Prince, tough fight for you. Why was this fight different for you than all the other fights you fought?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's as I've told you before, Larry, but the answer you give me is you can't interview Allah. The fact is, my faith is still there to the maximum. If that's the way it's written for a man to go, that's the way it's written from Allah. I'm happy. I'm still confident. The fact is, he couldn't drop me. He couldn't knock me out. And I'm going out at this ring like a champion still. At the end of the day, I give him all congratulations and all the best of all the success in the world to him in the future. And what can I say? I only have to get straight back in the gym and get back again like champions do.
In the intricate tapestry of boxing lore, the defeat that Naseem Hamed's detractors often highlight was not the definitive end his critics imagined. A clause for a rematch was woven into the fabric of the contract, reflecting Hamed's own wishes, who cited injuries to both hands as factors in his lackluster performance. Despite this, the rematch that might have settled all scores between these two titans of the ring never materialized. Hamed would step into the ring just once more, facing off against the relatively unheralded Manuel Calvo. He chose to hang up his gloves at the age of 28, a decision that sprang not from his loss to Barrera, but from a deeper recognition of his physical limits. The British champion himself noted that the rigors of training no longer aligned with what his body could withstand. He knew it was time to step away. Meanwhile, Barrera continued to embellish his own legendary status. His career extended well beyond that decisive night in Las Vegas, capturing victories against icons like Eric Morales and Johnny Tapia, although he too faced his own nemesis in Manny Pacquiao. On that fateful night in 2001, Barrera was simply the better man in the ring, a fact acknowledged by all who witnessed his slightly superior performance against the Prince. He rightfully earned his victory, adding a critical chapter to his storied career. As the curtains draw on these two illustrious careers, the legacy of that night in Las Vegas remains a poignant reminder of the fine margins that define boxing's greatest encounters. It was a night of passion, determination, and skill, showcasing the art and heart of boxing at its finest.